All right, we are live. Welcome, everybody. This is officially Real Science episode 30, but that's because I had episode 29 scheduled for tomorrow, so make of it what you will. Welcome. We have Mr. Michael Boyd joining us, Simon C., Gerald WPG Enlightened for Truth, Liminal, Taryn Earthling Sean, and Jeremiah Pop of Join the Technicians. How is everybody doing?
Very good.
Anyone else hearing that audio?
Yeah, Mr. Boyd, I believe it might be yours again. I think it happened last time.
Yeah, we're talking about that chirping sound, right?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, it sounds like it was.
Yeah, Mr. Boyd, it was on your end. Maybe if you don't mind just trying to exit and rejoin. Sometimes that's all it takes for Streamyard to fix it.
Have you heard it make that sound automatically, or do you think he just needs to unplug his mic and maybe plug that back in?
It's usually Streamyard that messes it up. Usually rejoining will solve it.
Yeah, give it a try. We'll let you right back in, Mike.
And yes. All right. So tonight, Electro-Culture and Mr. Michael Boyd, if you want to just restart the StreamYard, maybe even hit refresh and then come back in. It'll fix the sound, hopefully, on your end. I remember it actually happened last time as well. It's weird with some computers. All right, so we have Gerald with us. Gerald, you've been working on a lot of different projects right now, both Electro-Culture, a scooter, I believe, and the coils, and also an alternator project, correct? Gerald? Do we have Gerald? Do we have Simon?
Would not be a live show without audio.
We have Sean. We have Liminal. Do we have Jeremiah still? Yeah. Oh, Gerald. I saw you unmuted. Now muted. Oh dear. Always the audio. Yeah,
still
Mike,
broken.
if you're still there, it's still giving this reverb sound, sir. So you're gonna have to restart. But Gerald, do we have you? Do we have sound with Gerald? It's none of the sound working right now. Like everything was working before we go live. Crazy.
Sure was. Oh man. Just watching it break down every single time is
ridiculous, right? Like we're talking behind the scenes live for half an hour, or before going live for half an hour, no issues at all, and then you go live and nothing seems to work.
I can't believe mine is working right now. You know how overtaxed my computer is at this moment? It's nuts.
I don't know. Gerald, can you hear us? It looks like he keeps going from mute to unmute. I don't know if he needs to.
Yeah, we can't hear Gerald either. Gerald, maybe you want to come try logging out, logging back in as well. And Mike, if Mr. Boyd, if you're there, you get horrible reverb on your audio still.
It's like the dancing frog, you know.
Before you do, Boyd, just give it a try and say something. I mean, is your voice coming through at all? That's what I want to know. If you are trying to talk, we can't hear you.
Yeah, right. It's like, did Gerald turn on his coils? Right?
Or did his internet connection suddenly go? I don't know.
Yeah, that's happened. Happens to Dutch Sense all the time. Shout out Dutch Sense, as well as it's happened to Jeremy a few times now, live on air. A couple times recorded with him recently, where they just shut it all down. Even his kids like movie and everything. It's just ridiculous. But
heck, man, they've cut.
Yeah, Michael E. Boyd, we cannot hear you at all, and we are getting a horrible reverb on your end that we're gonna have to mute you and try to get you to come back in and restart, good sir. Strange.
It's strange that it didn't immediately go away, too.
Indeed. All right, we have Gerald back. Gerald, can you hear us now? Can you see us? Maybe.
Looks like it's messing with you, dude.
That's
It
just.
always happens to Gerald.
That is pretty consistent, though. Oh, hey,
Oh,
we got him
there
at
we
least.
go.
Hey!
Nope,
There
can't hear
he
you.
is.
Yep.
For some reason, we can see you, though.
All right, one step working. Now we just.
Oh, man. 11
wow.
minutes in, right? 12 minutes in, and we still haven't been able to get to the science because of technical difficulties.
Right? And like literally Gerald was explaining everything and we're like, okay, we have to pause this and go live with this information. And then as soon as we're live, just nothing but issues. Absolutely. I don't know. Too many coincidences. You know, how many times does it have to happen? But all right. In the meantime, Jeremiah, do you want to maybe discuss some of the work you and Liminal have been doing, and or Terran Earthling, good Sean, sir?
Yeah, he's going to have to go first. So if you want to give Terran share screen, he's got lots of Electro-Culture stuff that would, I'm sure, enhance the quality of the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I can present a little bit here for you.
100%, Sean. That'd be epic if you got some Electro-Culture stuff from the Google Drive to share. That would be
am I sharing my screen right now?
For sure, brother. For sure.
Okay. Yeah. So.
No, not yet. Bernie was
not
answering you. He was not listening.
I was saying yes. Please do share your screen, and I'll hit. And let's take a look at it.
Dang, he is getting kicked in and out. He's having major problems with the connection right now.
Hold on. I'm just allowing. There we go.
Perfect.
Yeah, okay. Can you see? Yeah, there. Okay, so yeah, this is electricity in the atmosphere. This is notes from the fun notes. This is chapter 9. It explains the higher you go up, the more voltage you get per meter. This also works for amperage as you go down into the ground. The deeper you go into the ground, more amps you can pull. This is just the basics of what's going on with space charge and Electro-Culture. These are, we'll just hop out of that and go to the application. This is the first cloud seeding patents using just vapor and charge.
You gotta love that cloud seeding patents.
You're able to manipulate
vapor and charge.
Yeah, that was the first ones from the 50s, 1954 when it was filed.
So this,
because they improved. They end up using. I have his other patent too for the charge generator. It's just very basic. They just had them on planes, and then they would pump out steam and voltage.
That's pretty fascinating.
Here's
stuff.
A propulsion.
Sorry to cut you off, Sean. I just quickly wanted to state it that this is exactly what needs to be brought to Dutch Sense's attention with what he's discovered with the different types of radars triggering the charge spin vortex and triggering funnel clouds, tornadoes, and crazy hail systems all around the Doppler radars. That's what the Doppler radars. And that this
can you hear me now?
Early science of it. Yeah, loud and clear, Gerald.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
But we can also hear ourselves through your mic.
Oh, okay. I'll turn it down.
I think that works.
So this is a space propulsion
A little bit of
system
feedback.
that uses charge, and you charge the vapor as you spray it out. And this is for Electro-Culture and for flight at the same time. So this would be a space charge vehicle.
That'd be awesome.
Of course, doing Electro-Culture.
This is what I love about that. Here they're using the charge to not only prepare the fields and distribute that charge to help the plants grow, but it's also part of the lift system for the field, which is kind of just awesome.
Yeah, it's like an all-in-one.
And we just casually fly over my crops, and then they'll just grow better.
yeah, with ion propulsion, yeah, it's fairly classic. I'm sure we've seen this book before. I don't know if I can skim fast enough in here. I might have to actually go through the pictures.
I don't know.
Here.
Yeah, Bernie's audience has seen this book before.
Yeah, please do
scroll
through and that's from the Canterbury archives.
Yeah, so like as shown before with what was it, Christofoulou? He has a plate on the top of zinc and a zinc and copper plate on the top. When rain hits it, it creates a voltage pile, and then it goes into the ground. This is pointing south, and it's and the wire's running north. Now this I believe what's happening here is, remember when I was showing you that the higher you go, the more voltage you can gain, but the fields pile up. And what happens is it acts as a capacitor here. So when it starts discharging, it discharges that pile of fields that were building up on top and putting it into the ground, and the plants are absorbing it. And I believe, I don't know, but I believe that it's taking in a space charge up here. So this is like 25 meters in the air. So it's like a tree. So you're dumping that much charge into plants, and all of a sudden, I believe that they're taking it in as much energy as a tree, and they're becoming huge. That is my belief. I don't know if that's completely true.
No. It makes sense because Mike with Faraday research, and I have discussed a lot, as well as the John Hutchinson was talking about it. The trees being used as like antenna for collecting some of the atmospheric electricity, and that you can tune into certain energetic frequencies with them.
Well, if you look at the shape of a maple leaf and you compare that to a kind of fractal antenna, the resemblance is uncanny.
Yes, it is. It's a good.
Fractal antennas. That's a big key to a
what
lot of
beliefs are. That's very good points.
And we've actually seen those same types of antenna structures in a lot of these mudflood buildings too, haven't we?
Yes. Yeah, that's another.
Yeah, Agriculture, yep.
And then I also want to add in that then there's the root system underground as well. So that's double the differential potential from collecting in the atmosphere up and then going underground, probably connecting into the water table and whatnot.
Well, the deeper the roots, the higher the tree.
There's also the mycelial system that connects various trees in forests.
Absolutely.
Dun dun dun! The fungal network. I love it. And if you're a Trekkie,
let's not also forget that when forest fires happen and create all that all the charcoal, it's also creating graphene, right? So you're also getting superconductive charges. So in layers in between all the stuff. And not only that, it filters water and all that good stuff. But anyways, so this right here is this is pretty much space charge. What's happening right here in the conversion. So what is happening is that this is water. Generally, you put a negative or ground it here, and you then. You can either boil it, or you could also use what I would use as a pond fogger, because then you get like mist that's like EVOs, and you would then release the space charge into the area. I like, this is just to collect it for electricity, but I'm saying use it for spraying onto your
the
crop.
HHO mist. Yeah, that right. That it goes
Yeah.
into the evioplasmid form. That's a very key
and,
point.
and you could even dope it with your gold water if you want to.
Right.
And your
So
silver
that's where the
water.
spin comes into the misting of it. The separation.
Yeah, because you want to charge your mist, but you want to charge it directly, like with the antenna that you have, like how Crystalofo
So have the antenna connected in as an electrode going into the electrolysis.
Yeah, and you don't want to dampen the charge, right? Because you get electricity from trees, and you have to like add capacitors and coils to it and diodes in order to convert the energy you're taking into usable energy. But if you're using space charge, you want to use the natural space charge that is there. You don't want to take away the noise that it's giving off, and you want to spray that direct raw energy out. Right? Because by filtering it, you're going to filter out all the actual energy that is usable by the plant.
Right?
Here's
the charged water. It's the key part.
Yeah. So this is like another system setup was like he was used for spraying. So like he's running through. He was actually using sunlight and all this other stuff. But I was saying like find another like a mister like that, use it and electro spray it out, and then have it ground back through into the other system though, like where it goes into the ground into the plants instead of back into this system, or have it both connected to this system and into the ground over there. But regardless, you want that charge to go out and into your plants though, or like have your plants around here and have that charge go into the ground and still go back into the plants and accumulate. And if you think about it too, they're like, the plants themselves are active, like they're probably holding charge like a capacitor, I'm assuming.
Well, actually, a huge part of the electro-culture phenomena, a huge component of it is that if you flow electricity through plants at a very slow rate, or I should say a very low amount of current, the voltage is actually rather high, several hundred volts across between the tips of the plants and the ground potential away from the plant root system. But ultimately, electrons will flow through it, and they carry momentum with them, so they'll also help carry nutrients with them, and they'll also help create compounds, because you've got effectively an energy flow through the plant, and it's trying to reach towards the sky, which is the opposite potential. So the plant doesn't even have to sustain its own weight. 100% part of that weight is actually being held up by the electrostatic attraction of the plant towards the sky. And this is one of the reasons why electro-culture plants grow so much faster.
You hit the key, you hit the nail on the head there too when you said the flow, because it's all about the flow. If you can catch the flow, you can direct the current. You can direct the current, you can accumulate the charge, and so on and so forth.
I have a video I'll have to show you some other time because I think it's copywritten, so I wouldn't be able to put it on. But it was showing how castles have to be grounded, and if they're not, like during a lightning storm, conductive stuff like that are attached to or hanging on walls will give off electricity and start sparking and filling the room full. Yeah. So and it makes you wonder, like if the knights were wearing armor just to stay protected from lightning being at a castle.
And could they, because it's a Faraday cage around them essentially, and then could they direct it with those like their swords with like the right alloys and shit?
Ironically, I have direct commentary on this. Direct commentary. You see, we were at the Maker Faire some, I don't know, probably 8 years ago, I'm guessing, and we had our huge Tesla coil set up. We were pumping out 10-foot lightning bolts, whatever. We took a break for lunch, and we went out to see who else is here. And we came across this guy who had made his own suit. His whole pounded out of steel, classic medieval looking armor suit. And me and Mike, the guys who built this coil, looked at each other and were like, uh-huh. So we walked up to him and said, "Hey man, would you like to be the God of Thunder today?" And he's like, "What are you talking about?" I said, have you not been inside and seen the coil?" So he was like, well, am I going to die? Am I likely to die? How dangerous is this? So we took all of our straps and used little magnets and pieces of aluminum tape to basically wire the parts of his suit together. Every little individual joint of his gloves, his gauntlets that were separated from each other by cloth. We put wires across the backs of each of those, made sure that everything was a complete circuit. So he was basically inside of his own Faraday cage. And then, of course, he took his sword and did exactly what you'd expect. He drew a 10-foot long lightning bolt off the top of that coil, and it was awesome. We called it Knight versus Ashes of Bruiser. So it was pretty good. It's up on YouTube, actually. That whole entire video.
Darn, I don't know why it's not showing this file, but this file is it's showing that how electrostatics when in fish and not just like in other plant life, it was reverting back to a more pure DNA form. Oh darn! I wish you know this.
They never let the good stuff go on the live, hey? So we will have to do a straight OdySee soon. And we are live on
I'll just show you the.
So maybe at the end of this...
these pictures.
Oh, sorry, Sean. You may not be aware, but your signal is a little bit delayed. So if it sounds like he's talking over you every time you talk, or other way around, it's because you two are on slightly different times, about 2 seconds off.
Yeah, I figured such. I don't know why it's not showing anymore. The pictures were showing. I'll just have to go through them individually, I guess.
Google cannot load because of bandwidth issues.
Is it's showing as soon as you open it, Sean, it goes to a new folder, so you'll have to hit stop screen and then reshare again. Oh no,
it was just bandwidth. He was trying, because he's on the stream right now, Google doesn't have the bandwidth to load the icons for these pictures. That's all.
I got you. My bad. There we slow. Buffering.
So we're live on my channel as well for the first time, Burn.
I see that. That's epic and awesome. And thank you for reminding me to shill everybody's channels.
Oh my goodness.
And first off, here is Gerald's channel with the stream that we're live on, going on live chat right now.
Yeah, so like they're showing some pictures here. I hate that I can only show you the like they're showing right here where it reverts to the ancient way it was, like DNA where the all the marks are showing, and when they do electric charge and without, and then the corn reverted back to a normal maze.
So you're seeing epigenetic changes based off of the Electro-Culture.
That's like the same results that came out
of getting more space charge on not only Electro-Culture but on fish.
So you can program one generation of crop and it will follow into the next generation, or do you have to maintain the Electro-Culture infrastructure?
I believe what it was is that the space charge was generated there's much more space charge was generated back in the day. So more charge would hit us, we would accumulate more electrostatic charge, and I believe that the fish and everything around us changed because we have less charge now.
Well, the pyramid research from Russia seems to say the same thing. The genetics revert back to its original form in comparison to regular plants that they didn't have inside the pyramids when they were doing their research. It's pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, I also heard on the Goji period. I can't remember how you pronounce that one. Anyways, it was reported that around the base of that thing, it had not only sustained its own water table, but apparently plants they thought were extinct in that region were suddenly starting to grow for the first time. Where the heck did that come from? Or were they already plants that were there, reverting back to some older genetic code?
That is fascinating possibilities right there.
Of course, verification for that entire case is not easy. because a lot of it's disappeared now. 5 years ago, it was very easy to find information on that pyramid. I think they had their own website and everything. Now it was difficult to just even locate pictures of it the first time. Like, it's actively being filtered through. Obviously, everything's still up there on the web, but the search engines aren't bringing you to those results anymore.
The same with a bunch of Ecuadorian pyramid research I had seen, and the Russians for sure.
Well, that's all I really have for Electro-Culture right at this second. It was just a quick run through for you guys. I don't know if that helps
an epic
tease or gives people ideas.
100%, and I will be looking through those files now that you've brought them to all of our attention. And thank you indeed, Sean Taryn Earthling. Also, I'm going to quickly step outside and email Michael Boyd back that he can rejoin. He just we weren't telling him to leave.
He's probably watching right now.
Yeah, Mike, we were just asking you to refresh the browser, and it should have fixed the sound, man. You didn't, or restart the computer. You'd have to go. And yeah, Jeremy, I just saw your message. I just sent you the link. And you as well, Mr. Mark Falcon Space. Kids, sir, if you want to join, but you can't have karaoke going on in the background. That just fucks up everything. But all good.
That's probably fair.
I have to head out, guys, because I got to work tomorrow, man. I'm already up.
Fair enough, my friend. Thank you.
Have a good one, man.
Yeah, take care, guys.
Greatly appreciated. And yes, also tomorrow we'll be starting earlier for Real Science episode 29, which this is episode 30 because I had already made 29, but it will be starting a couple hours earlier than the later start, and it will be based off of Free Energy Fridays. And I'd like to go over some of the crystal battery designs, the other types of batteries that everybody's been doing, as well.
I'll have a demonstration.
Exactly. Indeed, Mr. Gerald's big demo, as well as we'll get Faraday Mike to show off a little bit more too, as he has not lately. He has been reluctant and afraid to speak too much of the over successes of his machines in fear of breaking the system. So there are a lot of big developments happening behind the scenes.
Well, he's at the point where he really needs to get some other third party to really investigate it to see if his data is accurate.
I would like to start replicating one of his machines myself. It would be a good start, fun to build.
Hey, G, did you want to just cover real quick what you're currently running in your plant room?
Yes, as well, good Gerald. The Electro-Culture, some updates if you don't mind, because you've got some stuff planted, and I myself am about to do some planting. I should actually move the planters around back and maybe even plant them right now. So if you guys want to take over for a minute.
Order a bunch of seeds and then get those.
I was just thinking it'd be really cool if we demonstrated a how-to in a specific Electro-Culture. That's something that people could replicate. And have like a friendly community challenge, whether it's warming up or you have the right environment indoors. It would be really cool to see the results that everyone's getting, both in the chat and, you know, when we're on the show with you, BurnEye. I'd love to see the community come together and, you know, get knowledgeable about growing the best food that they can.
I couldn't agree more, and that is what today's episode was actually subliminally kind of what I was hoping to achieve, and that what sort of little antenna things should I make for the planter that is Electro-Culture and regular water?
Depends what you're doing. Are you using just like a single plant in a single pot?
So I'm going to do it's a potter about a foot over probably 14 inches by 14 inches. And I was going to do a lettuce, a kale, a spinach, and maybe like a carrot sort of thing. So that, because I've got like 4 or 5 identical planters, and then do 5 of the different, one of each of the seeds within them sort of thing.
I would do what Cultivate Elevate suggests. Take a piece of 1/4-inch copper tubing, twist it around in a spiral, and shove it in towards the bottom of your pot. It's one pot, right?
Well, I've got for that one, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, I've actually got that. I will do that, and then I'll also put some essentially solenoids, just copper wire, going counterclockwise, spun up some sticks as well, going up into the air too.
Yeah, if you're gonna do the whole extended pole thing, that's sort of a different system than what Cultivate Elevate was discussing with.
Yeah, I was gonna try to do both, right? Or I guess just one or the other. I don't know.
See, for an update on mine, it's kind of bittersweet update. As I said before, I had issues with my control when it came to the mung beans. And then I had another problem I won't discuss, but the project basically got wiped out, and I got prepped to restart the whole all 3 systems, and I found a 4th system that I want to add to the Electro-Culture as well. It comes right out of a book, a series of books actually written by James Redmond, but we'll get into that in the near future. So the plants that I did have in my room were harvested. I've got everything on video, and I've got it all documented. I did increase some of my tomatoes and some of my carrots, but it's inconclusive. So the system that I've set up for the next experiment, I just got 2 new cameras. Everything's going to be set up for live, and I'm going to do this like as scientifically as possible so that everybody can see exactly what I'm doing time from moment to moment. And I have one system that's going into the indoor grow room. I have one system going in my backyard. And for the last 2 weeks, I've been out in the country plowing and tilling this one plot and setting up the post. We just got the post in the ground yesterday. It's 28 feet high. I have the apparatus set up on it and everything. I've gotten pictures. I didn't get video, unfortunately. But so that's going to be displayed in the near future. And as I'm growing outdoor, I'm going to do maybe every 3-day update on video and pictures.
Are you going to have a control of the same crop that you're growing with Electro-Culture?
Actually, it's funny you bring that up, because the place that I'm doing it at is my sister-in-law's, and they're doing a garden, and I'm matching what they're putting in their garden in the Electro-Culture garden.
Okay, so you'll be growing the same stuff.
Yeah, and it's like 2 acres away.
Will you be testing the pyramid array?
No, not in this round. Do you mean the pyramid array that you showed?
Well, that you were showing off in one of the videos of the.
Oh yeah. No, I'm not going to be building that one. It's a little bit. It's a little bit more than what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible so anyone can do it. To build that pyramid array takes a little bit of expertise, so to speak. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make it as simple as possible. I will get into that pyramid array in the future, though. Maybe in the next indoor grow room experiment. That's a good suggestion, Simon. Maybe I'll do that on the next one. So that's my update.
Yeah. And what I really want to find out with the Electro-Culture is whether or not starting from seed with some side-by-side plants if providing, since we have naturally about 300 volts per meter, and that's not at all a consistent number, depending on where you go. Plants in places with a much higher electric field grow a lot faster. So what I want to provide is about maybe 2,000 volts per meter from seed in one of the isolated sections, and then I want to try the exact same thing in the opposite polarity, same potential, with another set of seeds. And for the third, I want to just allow them to grow naturally. So I'd like to find out if just having that continuous voltage in the form of downdrift ions is going to be sufficiently beneficial for those plants. And the reason why I'm confused a bit is because why would putting a wire into the ground that doesn't go very deep and just simply having it stick up next to the plant seem to help them grow? I would think that eliminate the electric field and neutralize the ions whenever hitting the plants. So I would expect that to be a negative thing, but apparently it produces positive results. So I'd like to get down to the bottom of that, figure out why.
Well, the one experiment I'm doing in my grow room, that's the pulsed frequencies, and the one that I'm doing outside and the 1 acre plot, I'm going to be using galvanized wire, just like the original design from Justin Christoflow.
Awesome.
So I don't know if that's going to affect what your experiment might be like in that sense where it's a little different than what you might be doing.
Oh yeah, it's quite a bit different than what I'm doing. I'm doing a very controlled experiment that's going to be done indoors.
That makes sense. I would suggest keeping that control plant far away from the other two.
It has to be, because the electric fields are going to extend out way farther than just simply the boundaries of what's above them. But I'll be using focused carbon electrode ionizers, which are going to be sufficient for producing both positive ions and negative ions of equal potential. So
what I want to know is, can you have an appropriate control, say indoors versus outdoors? It's not really the same conditions.
Nope, the lighting is significantly different, and so is that consistent blowing of the wind that strengthens plants. And just having plants indoors, they'll usually be limp because they haven't been thrashed back and forth by nature or had a reason to really stiffen up yet.
Yeah, so from what I understand, these fields actually extend pretty far. We'd have to find like a plot of land.
No, we can do it. We can do it all indoors because I know how exactly to control the ion flow, so that won't be a problem at all.
Okay. Yeah, we're definitely gonna do Electro-Culture this summer. You'll be seeing some of that from us in a few months.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Say, I wanted to ask your audience too, Bernie, and for all your other various channels that you're streaming on, does anybody know of a good, simple, cheap time-lapse camera? Not one that simply, takes 1 minute per shot kind of photos, but one that you could say set for 10 minutes or an hour or something like that. I'm looking for one to watch the crystal growing process. And I'm looking for something that's not like a full DSLR or some camera that has that feature, but one solely dedicated, just cheapy thing with like a generic monochrome LCD display that we can just set up in there and let it run for weeks at a time.
I've been thinking about this, and I think a solution would be to use an older laptop laying around with the right, application or program, because it'll stay plugged in, so you don't have to worry about it, the battery dying, and then you should be able to set the interval.
I hear you. It just seems like a waste to run 30 watts of power to keep a laptop on so it can take a picture once every hour.
A 30-watt laptop these days is pretty low power, so.
Yeah, but why burn the energy if there's already a totally available SD card based?
Yeah, I mean, if anyone out there knows of a cheap, dedicated time-lapse camera that can take pictures hours or days apart, that would be really useful, because 1 minute is just too frequent.
Yeah, and that's about that's the slowest time that I can set any of my camera gear for, 60 seconds.
Yeah, I think using an old camera phone is probably going to be your best bet.
It's cheap hardware. Somebody has got to have made some hardware for this.
It has to be something that stays plugged in, though, because there's no cheap anything with a battery that lasts for weeks.
Well, it doesn't need to draw much power. Think about how long a Hero can go without
it needs to go. Yeah, it needs to go to standby. It basically needs to be in sleep mode.
Hey guys.
Hello there. Hi, Tim.
Oh, look at that. I'm
Hello,
so dark.
Mr.
Here.
Ventura.
How's
Welcome.
that? That's my lamp. I'm on my laptop. I have
Sounding
two
good.
computers, right? Because I built my studio. You saw my swank new studio. So my real computer, the one that I actually do stuff on, is out in the garage now. So
Well, now you got double the studio time. It's like me in my bedroom, right? You can have guests now. You can actually host the podcast at your house.
what would I do with guests? What would I do with people at the house? No, I just hide, man.
You're like,
The
heck
same great
no!
things
What
that you're
the?
doing
I don't
with
want
your-
anybody at my house. What do you?
So hey, can I plug the Alt Propulsion Conference again?
Always.
I know I'm a broken record, aren't I?
We love it. The more, the merrier, my friend.
We've
Yeah,
had
do it
we've
up.
had a couple of hundred new people sign up for it. Probably
Wow.
about 200.
I wasn't expecting
Yeah,
that
and
response.
so thank Bernie, thank you, and thank everybody in your channel. Thank everybody for helping. I mean, what we're trying to do is again just create this community resource. And the more people that we get registered and involved, the better, right? And I mean,
Exactly.
there's no gimmick, no gotchas or gimmicks, right? We're not asking people for money or anything like that. It's really about social activism and just trying to create a community resource. That's it. So, it's altpropulsion.com. That's my pitch for tonight.
We want more. We want more of the pitch. It was so
You
good.
want more
It's
of my
so
pitch?
good. APAC is just so amazing, and it's exactly what you just stated. And that there's so many different geniuses out there, and different inventors, and like brilliant minds, like in this community that just need to come in and focus and put their ideas forward, and the mixture of that, and then the resources of the industry that you're connected with and have worked with for so long, Tim, and whatnot, that it's really a beautiful thing.
Actually, you got a good point there, Bernie, because APEC has been tremendous from what I've learned after the fact, 2 years after the fact. It's been tremendous in helping a lot of people get the attention that they needed from investors and funders so that they can pursue this work in a more serious capacity. So it actually has helped a lot of folks. And I thought that was just awesome. Also, you've already got people scheduled, Tim. Some pretty good names.
Yes, and that's why you should all sign up for the email list.
Yeah. So what? Let me see. What has changed? We're gonna split. So we're actually gonna do the event every 2 weeks. It's gonna be a little bit different. What we're gonna do is we're gonna have actual webinar presentations, right? Like we usually do. And that's gonna be once a month. And then every 2 weeks off, right? Like, so it's 2 on 2 off kind of a thing. The other 2 weeks, it's going to be basically just open discussion, kind of like what you do on your channel, except
Nice.
Yeah. So we've got that. And then I am actually, hopefully I'll have this done the next day or two. I'm going to try and do a schedule through the year end, and I'll put that up on the website, and I'm rebuilding the website too. And I'm going as fast as Red Bull will allow.
I feel you. Oh man,
It's all work.
Yeah, and the weird thing was like, this is just me, but I've been really motivated. I don't know if I should say this in public. I've been really motivated for the last couple of weeks. Getting stuff done, just burning through things, and I was like. And then a couple of days ago, I was like, where's all this energy coming from? And I was like, you know what, man, I'm dealing with like major anxiety over all this. So, but it is what it is, right? It's getting anything going. Once it gets going, we'll be, I think we'll be feeling pretty good about life.
It must be in the air, Tim, because I've been working just as hard as you, getting projects completed and getting ready to show them off and do demonstrations. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot going on right now. And then you guys saw that new UAP radar video, right? From the USS
I haven't seen it yet. Unless you're talking about the one with the spear that I happened to catch it.
Please bring it up.
Yeah, I mean, I
please
don't. You know what? I can find it. Here.
Yeah, if you don't mind, even post it in the private chat, and then I can load it and play it through Twitter so you don't get any YouTube ads. That's a life hack I've learned.
Okay.
Or you could just download an ad blocker, of which there are like 20 great options for. But no, that would be just too easy. Too bad my boy still isn't here because he'd be going nuts over that video Tim's looking for right
yeah,
now.
I just emailed Mr. Boyd again, being like, Mr. Boyd, we weren't asking you to leave. We were just asking.
Oh,
you to
here it
refresh
is.
the sound.
Here it is. Okay, so
Do
let
you
me.
want to play or do you want to share screen? Or
No,
do you want me to load it myself?
Bernie,
Oh, yeah, I see
you
it.
demand. You demand. I'll put it up there and you play it.
Big shout out to John Sup. Thank you for the $2.
Oh, thank you.
So you may have to fast forward part of it. It's a news article, and then it has a pretty short clip from the Omaha, basically being swarmed in 2019, I think, by UAP, right around where all of the stuff happened in 2004, 2000. So it's like that area, right? That's their nest. That's their underwater base or something.
Really? Hey, it's from the same time period.
It's a newer time period, but it's the same area.
Oh, no. Okay.
Yeah, and then you might have
to
fast
forward.
forward.
2023. Sorry, I thought you said 2003. My God.
Month. This radar video from 2019 shows unidentified objects closing in on the USS Omaha. This is off the coast of San Diego. The aircraft carrier, if you look at your screen right now, is right in the center dot. And those unknown objects, totaling 14 at one point, are around the carrier. Listen as the crew reacts to what they're seeing.
That was pretty much perfectly 000 relative, right?
And they just don't know what these things are. In August of last year, the U.S. Department of Defense formed the UAP Task Force, which stands for Unidentified Aerial Phenomena. The mission is to detect, analyze, and catalog these unknown objects, like the ones in the video, that could potentially pose a threat to U.S. national security. George Knapp with Mystery Wire joining us. George, walk us through this latest video, exactly what we're seeing here.
The USS Omaha is dead center in the middle of that radar screen. Those other objects around it on the radar screen are unknown.
Oh, Mr. Boyd, you are back and it's the audio again.
Intelligently controlled, some of them coming straight at the ship,
Mr. Boyd,
traveling as high as 158 miles per hour at one point. The release of this radar data has been much anticipated by people in the UFO field because they've seen images such as what we provided before, but none of the sensor data to go with it. So this is sort of an historic development here, providing sensor data that backs up the claim of the crew on the board the USS Omaha that indeed they were swarmed, engulfed, surrounded by UFOs.
How significant is this?
I think it's a pretty big deal. I mean, we know that the U.S. Navy has a great deal of sensor information. Of course, they have the best sensors in the world. We've had witness statements. We've seen video clips over the last couple of years, but none of the sensor data that go along with it. Your guess is as good as mine about what they are. Some people suggest they might be foreign drones, but if that is true, where we had more than 9 ships in and around the Omaha that were swarmed by as many as 100 of these objects, it's a pretty serious national security matter.
Let's talk a little bit more about the shape of these crafts, these unknowns, as you call them. They appear to be, as you have said, transmedian craft. Explain to people the shape and what we're seeing on this radar.
Well, the transmedium craft are those which can travel through air, space, and water. In addition, it's perfectly round, a sphere. It is self-illuminated. It has no rotor. It has no wings. It has no thermal exhaust because the image itself is recorded on a thermal screen. I mean, a thermal sensor. So how is it flying? It's pretty scary. If this is foreign technology, then we have had a major intelligence failure by not seeing that this is coming.
And we are waiting for that report from Congress. The UAP task force, of course, has these images. You say this video was leaked, and now we are able to see it. What are you anticipating in that report?
Well, I hope that there will be at least explanations about some of these incidents that we've been reporting over the past 3 years. If they can share more images that the public has not seen, that would be awesome. However, I suspect that the most sensitive material that the Navy and the UAP task force have will be shown to Congress, but not to the public, because it is a matter of national security.
George, what do you say to skeptics out there who watch this radar video and say, it could have been doctored, it may be fake?
I don't engage with the skeptics all that much. I think skepticism is valuable, but some people just sort of make it their daily duty to to try to wipe this stuff out, to debunk it. I mean, the people on Twitter don't have sensor data. They don't have radar data. The U.S. Navy, the UAP task force have all of that data. They consider these things to be genuinely unidentified, to be unknowns, in effect, UFOs.
Are you optimistic that we will finally have some definitive answers as to what these objects are now and in the past?
I don't know. I mean, to tell you the truth, I know a lot of people in high positions, and I've been working at this for more than 30 years. There are a lot of ideas about what the ultimate answers might be, and maybe there's more than one. But to my knowledge, as far as I know, no one knows the full picture. We've got bits and pieces of it, and we have theories, but I don't know that there's anyone who knows for sure where these things are from. Some of them are Earth technology. Some of them are misidentifications, but some could be pretty exotic from somewhere else, an intelligence that is not us.
An intelligence that is not us.
Right. And I think what's significant that George has relayed to us, because he has studied this for 30 years, investigated it, has all of these videos and images, is this report that is due out June 25th is a major step forward in terms of the U.S. government acknowledging we don't know what these things are. We've put a team on investigating it, and we're going to share what we know with Congress, whether or not the public is able to find out what is in these videos or documents or accounts that either the U.S. Navy or someone else has seen. That is yet to be seen. But he said the significance is they're looking into it because it is enough of a concern that it has risen to the highest levels of the U.S. government.
I just worry, though, that when the report does come out, most likely it's not going to be anything definitive, right? It's probably be
Sorry, I had to end it because there was Dom Lemon, and my goodness. All right, we have Mr. Boyd back. We have Mark Sokol joining us. Welcome, everybody. And Sammy, it's like APEC all over again right now. You're muted, Tim.
APEC is coming back. APEC is coming back, and check this out.
Mark's
Me and
here.
Tim were talking
Mark's
about
following me. He's stalking me, dude.
Actually, I was on earlier with Jeremy. We were talking about the UFO festival coming to New York area around the lab on June 3rd. It's going to be in Pine Bush, New York, and we're going to be there in person. And anyone who gives a donation to the lab gets to spin this magic wheel. And there's lots of different options. You can get a T-shirt. I got a T-shirt. If you hit this is osmium. You get an ounce of osmium, but you got to hit it 3 times in a row. We got to be careful. Osmium is extremely rare. We only have a little bit of it. Jeremy plays a song on the guitar. Sticker, hoodie, spin again, lab coat, cryo chips. We're gonna get the.
We love how you're volunteering Jeremy to sing a record.
Wow,
basically.
Oh, Mark, you know what? That's really that's incredibly creative, actually. But this
you haven't even
like a game
it.
show.
I love it.
There's going to be live demos there. This is driving distance from the lab, so we're literally taking the lab with us. The coolest experiments, the stuff that we can carry, are coming with us there. And we got 2 tents that are going to be set up. We're going to have live presentations with a speaker and a microphone and everything. And there's going to be a whiteboard. It's going to be crazy. And this is a street fair. People are dressing up like aliens. There's going to be saucer-shaped candy being given out, or sold. There's a lot of food vendors. So it's like a street fair. It's on June 3rd, and the rain date is June 4th. Got to be a fair weather event.
That's crazy.
And Pine Bush, New York is the East Coast mecca for UFO sightings.
Mark,
and abductions. I actually personally know people
respectfully, you are no Vanna White. I just want to put that out there. That's what's missing. You need a Vanna.
What's a Vanna?
Vanna White from Wheel of Fortune. See, this is why it sucks being old. Vanna White.
Right?
Let's get her there. Was she based in Fox News, New York City? Maybe we can get her to come spin the Wheel of Fortune for us.
I think she's like super retired now. I think she was giant like in the 1980s, 80s and early 90s. So
I think she's mostly doing yarn stuff now.
Yarn stuff, crocheting.
Yeah, or knitting or something. Yeah.
I think spin the wheel is kind of cool. I think that's a cool idea. I'm
surprised.
This is some swag that will be given out. You get those with your donation.
Alien party. It's like a alien festival, right? I like it.
UFO festival, and yeah, we are apparently the first, anti-gravity research lab that's shown up there. But what's his name?
I mean, there's so many
Fire in the Sky guy
research labs, Mark. I mean, they're a dime a dozen.
I
really.
do agree. George Knapp is highly suspicious.
He's got some ideas, though.
Yeah, no, like right. It's like all of these alphabet agency reporters and people, like they give the truth, like they're leaking some truth, but then they also have to give that Mockingbird Press media edition as well, right? Where it's like you get the 85% bullshit that they're feeding out, and then those 15% gold nuggets of real, like declassified info sometimes.
Hey, let me say hi to Michael Boyd. Michael, are you using a 3D printer? You have your 3D printer going, don't you?
Oh, that could be what the sound is. Yes.
Yeah, that was I recognize that sound.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh,
It sounds
that
much better
works.
now.
Yeah.
You're not
Michael,
getting any feedback anymore?
No. You're 3D printing something, aren't you?
No, that's not a 3D printer. That's a HP OfficeJet.
Oh.
It's a inkjet printer.
I think that was the noise.
So you're printing.
And I bought it because it holds like 250.
No, he was asking
pages.
about sound, not like if you're running it, sort of thing.
It sounded like the stepper motor's running.
Yeah, it sounded like the stepper motor.
No, so you just fixed the sound, basically. It wasn't a 3D printer.
Well, yeah,
running
it wasn't. The sound was because I was using a different computer.
Oh.
So I didn't figure that out. So when the first time I went, you guys, Bernie, you were saying that you were getting feedback or something.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And I remember it happened to us.
So what I did though is I went upstairs because I was on KP duty, and I didn't even know I was on. So I just happened to walk down there, and you called my name, or I saw something, and I go, "Oh, crap."
I was like, "Come on back, let's see the
Bernie." Actually,
and then a few minutes ago, I tried to go on again, and you were getting the problem again. So I said, "Oh, it's this computer," and then I went to a different computer. So that's how I fixed it. So I was technical errors on my side. So the reason I was interested in talking to you guys is I've been working on this thing with string theory. Do you know what string theory is?
I like string theory. Mark hates string theory.
I've read quite a bit of string theory, and that's why I hate it.
Well, that's good. The fact you hate it means that it triggered you somehow, and
yeah, because it's close, but
and that means there's something alive in you. This is like what we learn in nonviolent communication is that when you get angry, it's for a reason. It's triggering you, and it's because it's challenging you somehow. Important.
I don't think it's
that
strings.
Michael lives in California.
I think it's spin orientation.
Yeah.
You know?
To summarize it, I don't think it's strings.
So here it is. In particle physics.
Spin orientation.
Yeah, here it is. I got a short paragraph here. In particle physics and string theory, what's called M theory. The
M theory is the brain theory.
The ADD model, also known as the model with the large extra dimension, is a model framework that attempts to solve the hierarchy problem. We're not talking about our social stratification here. Why is the force of gravity so weak compared to the electromagnetic force and the other fundamental forces? That's the hierarchy problem, excuse me. The model tries to explain this problem by postulating that our universe, with its 4 dimensions, 3 spatial, 1 plus time, exists on a membrane in a higher dimensional space. It is then suggested that the other forces of nature The electromagnetic force, strong interaction, and weak interaction operate within this membrane in its 4 dimensions, while the hypothetical gravity-bearing particle graviton can propagate across the extra dimensions. This would explain why gravity is very weak compared to the other fundamental forces. The sizes of dimensions in the ADDE model is around the order of 1 teravolt, TeV, which results in it being experimentally probable by current colliders, unlike many exotic extra-dimensional hypotheses that have relevant size around the Planck scale. And what they've been doing is looking at colliding 2 protons in the Large Hadron Collider, so that they're trying to produce a graviton. Okay, so the thing is, I'm taking a different approaches. So what I did is had this chat, chat GBT. So I did
had some conversations.
I had a conversation with it about about Planck's mass, Planck's time, and Planck's length. And Planck's length is like really short, 10 to the minus 31 meters.
And according to Nassim Haramein, it's the smallest measurable size in
well, it's not measurable.
reality.
That's the problem.
Our smallest physical size in reality.
Yeah, well, it's based on a theory, though. It's not actually experimentally verified, is my point. The Planck's time and the Planck's length are too small under our current technology to measure. However, the Planck mass is 22 micrograms, which is relatively large. It's like 10 to the minus 8. And so basically I asked GBT, well, has anyone ever measured it? And she said no to all those questions. And then I said, okay, well, I gave her an example. I said, okay, I make a 10 micrometer by 10 micrometer square nanobump that's 32 nanometers tall out of tungsten on the surface of a disk. And its mass, and I said, is its mass more or less than the Planck mass? And she said, oh, it's more than the mass of the Planck mass. And I said, does not compute. And then I made her recalculate it, and she goes, oh, I apologize. It's much smaller. She said it's like 10 to the minus 10.
Sometimes it'll cut itself off in the middle of answering your question, give an error. Then if you ask the same question, it'll give you something completely different.
Yeah, I find it's not all there yet, but it's crucial that we feed it this positive information sort of stuff, as opposed to everybody that's doing the opposite, like trying to break it or attack it and all that stuff.
Well, no, I'm not trying to break it.
I know you're not. It's a tool. I'm saying we're doing the exact opposite.
It could do the calculation very well, put it that way.
That sort of
but
stuff.
But it couldn't recognize that it was 10 times smaller. You follow? Until I pointed it out.
Yeah, like a degree of exponential magnitudes it was missing, right? Like until you identified it for it.
So my point is that this Planck mass is pretty large. And so basically, if I fabricate these little nanobumps on my bump disk, it's actually a lot lower than the Planck mass. And so I should be able to examine these extra dimensions that they're talking about. In other words, their strong extra dimension should be available, and that would explain why I'm getting such a large signal out of and a large amount of energy out of the nanobump than I should. Follow? It's saying like it's this little tiny mass, and it should have this little tiny gravity, but it's not. It's a huge gravity compared to what it would be at distance.
I see what you're saying. It's a massive anomaly of like the energy mass in that tiny amount of space-time that should be relatively empty.
Well, the reason I don't know the answer is the question.
Have you considered that it might be material specific? That it might actually be a nature of some of the available percentage of isotopes in that element that you're using? Maybe it is
I think it just has to do. It has to do with the mass. Gravity's a mass related thing, but gravity's time dependent, not like light. Light's time independent.
So while we have you,
too,
Mr. Boyd,
but the reason I'm bringing this up is I'm going to send you guys this Chat GPT thing, and so basically what I'm trying to pick your brains about is, hey, and I don't know if you want to share it to the whole list. I don't know how to do that, but I'm just saying was letting you know.
If I'll post the link to it in the private chat, then I can put it in the live chat for everyone. And while you're here,
Michael.
Yeah.
Michael, I just want to say, if you want to do a presentation on APEC like this, like a far out idea, we are going to have 2 different versions of APEC. So there's going to be the APEC presentation mode. And this is going to be once a month, and it's going to be on StreamYard for more professional things. And then every 2 weeks after that, we're going to have a open mic session on Zoom where sort of everything goes. So there's 2 different variants of APEC that are upcoming. And
open mic? Is that a pun?
Yeah, so it's going to be open mic on its own.
Wait, why would it be a pun?
Well, my name's Mike.
Oh, yeah.
It's Mike specific.
This is Mark's idea for APEC.
I like it.
And when he mentioned it to me, I was like, yeah.
That's one of those things.
And Bernie, we actually wanted to talk to you about this too, because you know all the ins and outs of StreamYard.
Of course.
What do you think? What we want to do is like make APEC exclusive once a month. That it's going to be professional presentations with professional Q&A, and we'll have the comment section over here for the YouTube. If anyone wants to get onto the YouTube and ask questions, they can do it there. But we'll have like a creme de la crop in the StreamYard with us, asking questions to the presenters, just to make it a lot more professional. And then also once a month, but offset by 2 weeks, we'll have something like an open mic where anyone can just get on and talk. And that's going to be on Zoom like it used to be.
For sure,
but it'll start open mic from the beginning.
People talking, for sure. I think
that sounds interesting.
But while we have you here, Mike, Tim just brought this to our attention, this brand new radar video of new Tictoc from 2019. And Tim's like, this is like, they must have the base below, because it's the exact same spot. It's got to be below the ocean.
Yeah, it's the strangest thing, isn't it? I mean,
it goes below the water. Are you saying?
I believe that this event in 2019 happened right around kind of where the Nimitz event happened, that same area, right? And that's Michael, that's your area.
It's transmedium is what I'm asking.
Yeah, the original Tic-Tacs were documented as coming out of water, or like one of the Tic-Tac, like
the 2004 was associated with what that was seen over the water, and
and one diving out of, I believe.
Yeah, I don't know if we have enough information yet that's been released to tell whether these things whether the spherical versions have been seen emerging from the water or not, but they've certainly been found directly over and around water.
I remember seeing on a Fox News article, or a Fox News.
Why wouldn't they be ours?
A while ago.
They very well could be.
I haven't. I mean, Tim, this is just me, but I haven't seen any. Sorry.
that you bring back Kevin Day for the APEC and get some more of the Nimitz guys on, but Kevin Day specifically, because the questions I asked him and his answers like will stick with me for the rest of my life. And he was like swearing that he had like some telekinetic like experience out of it. They were definitely not orbs of like plasma or something like that, that he thought they were mechanical and that they were intelligently crafted and definitely not human. I remember him saying.
I mean, you know, I think I've said this to Mark. This is just my 2 cents. I know a lot of people disagree with me, but, you know, I'm pretty familiar with the level of technology that's out there in terms of the U.S. military. And like, so a good example of cutting edge technology for us, right, for the United States, is something called the Loyal Wingman Program. And that's publicly known about. And the idea is you have a pilot who's in just a regular fighter jet, and there is some computer controls and AI on board so that you have a bunch of drones, like regular drones, right? The kind that you see on the news. You have those following them. And the idea is that the pilot has, they're the wingman, right? So they have access to, more weapons, more radar, more all of that, right? But there's nothing magical going on there. It's normal aircraft. It's just computer controls. And this is kind of a breakthrough project, is Air Force Research Lab is working on something called rocket cargo, which is kind of I think it's a crazy idea, but the idea is right now, if you want to move cargo from one side of the planet to the other, you use like a C-130, right? And somewhere along the way, you either land or you refuel, and there's a bunch of stuff. It takes, like a day, sometimes a flight time. So rocket cargo is literally, you take like a SpaceX rocket, you put your cargo on it, and the hope is that by using the right fuels, that they can actually bring the cost down enough to make it competitive. So again, it's kind of cutting edge, but it's really conventional. It's a rocket, right? We know how those work. I mean,
yeah, and that'll get you pretty much anywhere on Earth within like an hour.
yeah, it's one of those things where they're really excited about it. So in terms of like cutting edge technology, I mean, that's where the U.S. government is, right? And then other people have said, well, what about the TR-3B and stuff like that? I mean, maybe, but the thing is, even with people who have reported seeing those, they haven't. There are no credible reports of seeing the kind of maneuvers that the Tic Tacs did. Now, with the Tic Tacs, I mean, when Kevin Newth said that they were accelerating up to something like Mach 55, they could stop on a dime. They've got all sorts of stuff, optical camouflage. I mean, it seems pretty obvious that they're using some kind of gravity modification, and the kind of maneuvers that they pull, that would destroy, even if there was no pilot, right? If there was a pilot, they would be dead. Even without a pilot, it would destroy the airframe of anything that's human built. You could put a titanium airframe on, and you get that up to Mach 55 like instantly, and it's gone. So for me, again, this is just my personal opinion, I don't see any human technology that matches what's reported for UAP.
I guess I'll play devil's advocate here. And
I agree with that, though, because America, sorry to interrupt, Jeremiah, before you go, just that the U.S. is struggling at even matching Russia and China in hypersonics. So how the heck are they having interdimensional craft?
And if I could add really briefly before Jeremiah says something, in terms of aircraft, so they have an edge on us in hypersonics. They definitely do. And that's rocket based. In terms of aircraft, the Russians are struggling with some avionics things, and the Chinese, even though they have some really fancy, nifty-looking aircraft, their engines are 30 years behind ours. So I don't see this as being Russia or China either.
Yeah, no, right? Like,
yeah. I think I can agree with all that it's probably not a major world power. It's almost certainly not a military power. Is probably not coming from the military-industrial complex, at least not in an official capacity. But I don't think that it's a very far jump when we're talking the technology to go from understanding the fabric of space-time and the way that the universe is constructed to being able to build these types of craft that basically look to us like they're practically magic, or like they're advanced technology so far beyond ours that if we only looked at the progress that we've made so far as mankind, it would seem like we're a far way out. But I actually don't think that's how it is at all. I think that when you change the understanding and we get rid of some bad physics paradigms that continue to keep us where we're at, and we understand that there's actually a different set of principles that we can operate these vehicles by, that it's really not that far cry short of being able to build these types of craft. And they're not going to be MHD, and they're not going to be EHD, and they're not going to be technologies that we're familiar with. But when we start to talk about totally controlling the dynamic spin nuclear precessional moment of various atoms and create special materials which have the perfect electrochemical balances to respond gravitationally in the ways that we need them to, we're going to find that the fabric of space-time itself is quite a bit more malleable than we might have expected. And it doesn't take the energy levels that we've all been told are required to produce a warp in space-time.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's possible for humans to build that. I just don't think I don't think that what we're seeing is human built, and I don't think that it's like I'm not a secret Space Force person, and the reason is secrets are really hard to keep, and you need an industrial base to build technologies like this. So an example, without rambling too
That's
much.
the key. That's the key. The industrial base, but that's the solution.
Unless Antarctica.
Private sector. Private sector could do this, and it would be all invisible.
They couldn't. Let me give you an example. I worked on a project called Fixed Wireless. This was back in 2000, right, in Redmond. And the idea was, at the time, it was revolutionary. It was point-to-point wireless, basically an enormous super high-speed cell phone on the side of your house, right? And that way you don't have to roll a truck and put cable in the ground and all that. So AT&T got into the game late, and they knew that other people were considering this. So this was their top secret project, and it was like, you sign on for this, you're not supposed to talk about it. And it was a joke in Redmond. They were like, yeah, I'm on the secret project. And the reason it was a joke was, you can't have any project that size without lots and lots of people, right? And those people talk, and like the biggest thing you can do is like, hey, it's a secret, don't talk about it, I mean, and so
that's
first
your
thing,
advertising scheme.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, these guys, they go out for a beer after work, and they're like, yeah, so what are you doing, Bob? Well, what's your project right now? And they're like, oh, it's a secret, don't tell anybody, ha ha ha, and that the whole thing just became kind of a big laugh. And
I'm gonna play devil's advocate though, in that if there was an off-world secret space sort of thing, it would be not a ha-ha, keep it secret. It would just be like, you mention it, you disappear, and you're gone. Because you're off-world, you're secret space, so you'd be secret to begin with. Your existence, you wouldn't really have an identity. It'd be easy to be disappeared, possibly. Not saying that it's the case, but if it was, it would definitely have to be a combination of it being privatized by the elites, and it most likely somewhere down in South America or Antarctica. If it was the Nazi Soviet thing, who knows? But yeah, that's all I could see as possible. Yeah, the Antarctica. But let's play this, because who knows? Maybe this is, but then there's the ideas that the Greys are us from the future, right? Could that be what Tic Tacs are? That we're just grown humans.
Don't forget the interdimensional. Somebody just mentioned that the other day.
Yeah,
in fact, I was on a call with somebody, and I said we're both relatively sane adults. I said, like, are we going with the alien thing? And he said, well, he's like, it might not be aliens, it could be interdimensionals, Tim. And I was like, that doesn't make me feel better.
Would we even be able to see them clearly?
Well, that's the thing, is like
the Greys are from the future, and the reptilians are from the past.
Could it be time differential rather than dimensional?
Well,
yeah, if there's a time differential, you might not see them.
They're all humans, just in a different time.
If they're from a different dimension, do they have
Humanoid.
the same chirality for all their nutrients and stuff? Because then what happens if they need to eat and they just can't actually process any of our food?
Yeah. How do we know the spear wasn't?
I mean,
How do we know the spear isn't from C-137? Right? It could be from
well,
any.
the reptilians, we still got them. They just look different. They're like little birds now.
Let's look at the facts though. As far as where this technology goes, look in the 1950s to the 1960s, Brown, Bonson, and Hill were all working together, and they made major progress. They weren't playing with ions. Sorry, folks. They were not playing with ion lifters. They were not playing with ionocraft. That was Seversky. They went past that stuff, way past that stuff. I've read all four Brown's notebooks, and I can tell you what he gets into in there is juicy meat and potatoes. And he talks about something called a lofting cake, the heart of his disc craft. Now, fairly seldom will you hear about this, but there was a compressed pack of material that he had isolated using high voltage electrical charge in a vacuum chamber with powderized various clays and quite a few other elements. One of them I'm actually holding here. I'm not going to turn my camera on, but it is pure tantalum powder, and that I have to grind up, and I just stuck it in the coffee grinder to really powderize it to get a much smaller grain size. But it acts extremely.
Then grind coffee in that same coffee grinder afterwards, Jeremiah.
Oh, I have dedicated coffee grinders for multiple purposes, and this one is my own grinder. So, absolutely. They're $5 at Goodwill when I can come across them. So
never for coffee though.
I've got one for coffee too. Yeah.
I
don't use it.
Not mixing your uranium in your coffee. That's good.
No, that's true. And I know the uranium one and radioactive elements is his own grinder too. That it's got its totally own grinder that does not touch even my other general processing chemicals. So what I want to say though is when you slam tantalum with a high impulse electric field, positive charge, and you have those particles separated from each other within a dielectric, very much like Richard Van Derrick's dot product disk, which is technically a metamaterial with metallic or conductive particles separated by a dielectric, but so close to each other that electrons or charges can tunnel through. It now acts in a particularly unusual way. When you give it a pulse, it's going to respond inertially differently than it would otherwise. So he also mentioned, Brown in his notebooks, I think it's in notebook number 2, he has the drawing of the lofting cake in the center of his metallic disc craft that we're familiar with seeing. We've seen the pictures of it floating around. And that entire thing, he said, surrounds the full craft with a field so large and so powerful that the acceleration force from an ionic wind, if you will, or an ionic attraction on the craft body is dramatically higher. It was that exact experiment with the discs, the 2 discs on the poles, and having the lofting cakes in the center of each of them and feeding them with high voltage impulses plus a high voltage DC bias that he showed to the military commanders that got the entire project classified. And where did that technology go? Is it in the military now? Do we see craft flying around with it? Are we using it for reconnaissance? Well, certainly at least not in the defense purposes for our borders. We're not using it for protecting the country. So it's not part of the main complex. That's my point, is it's not part of the mainstream military industrial complex. So if they didn't get it, then who did?
Maybe nobody got it though. I mean, that's the.
Or someone stole it and broke off with it.
I don't know. To me, this doesn't seem like it's human. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
I'm leaning to, and you know,
well,
the other
especially
thing.
The Tic Tacs especially, and also Tim, I want to bring back the time dilation aspect. And that last chat we were talking about how like it was now confirmed with the UFOs showing up at all the nuclear sites, but they started showing up right before they were built, like right before they started building. Like they arrived ahead of the nuclear weapons being there. Potentially, right?
Yeah, and are you thinking about the time travel thing then?
Yeah, as well. Like, right, that could be the possibility. Like, how are they arriving there before the exact spots and then waiting for it, sort of thing? You know, like.
Well, if it was an Air Force operation, why not?
But why would the Air Force spy on their own stuff?
Because they're in different branches of the military. Because they compete,
Eventually.
Why won't the Air Force say boo about UAPs, but the Navy will? Answer that question.
And what about the TR-3B, like the triangle one? Like, didn't the Navy like put out a patent for it or something recently?
Okay, that one
Like,
cannot be anything but human-made. Just look at it.
It's
if
bulky,
it exists,
it's crude.
though, right?
That is absolutely a human craft all the way.
Yeah, if it exists. I mean, and I tend to believe.
You guys want to see a human craft? Look at this. We actually got this to move the other day using just a speaker. And in the later version, we're going to mount the speaker inside of it. And just from getting the resonant frequency, this thing moves. We created 0.03 newtons so far. And this was inspired by a conversation between Todd DeCiano and ChatGPT.
No, right? And see, once again, more of the ChatGPT coming through to inspire ideas.
That it's interesting, you know. I ChatGPT is interesting.
And that's where I think that we need to come up with anti-gravity before ChatGPT. We got to be covering this thing. I mean, come on.
What if we just use ChatGPT to give it to us?
Sentient. That's
I would much rather be the group. It only goes back to 2001. I mean, 2021. That's when it ends.
I'd much rather be the group that came up with anti-gravity.
To feed it. We found a way to feed it information. We're going to be feeding it Project Merkaba, the one that Sean started. We're literally feeding it all that information and asking that new version of ChatGPT to answer questions for us based on the information.
You're going to get us enslaved. Don't give it to the new version. You're going to get us enslaved.
You're enslaved to your boss, to the holy dollar. We're already enslaved.
Those. I'm a broke ass.
Well, that's. I mean, yeah. Actually, Mark's making a good point. But part of it is there's going to be some structural changes in the system, right? I mean, like what were they saying? Look at inflation over the last couple of years. I mean, the way that the world's being run right now is not really sustainable. So, you know,
to put it mildly, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that! It literally fits on it perfectly.
That's cool. I look forward to seeing some more results on it. Some actual live tests on the Apex stream with it.
Oh my
Shall we
God,
play this
it fits
video
so
here?
Perfectly.
Are around the carrier. Listen as the crew reacts to what they're seeing.
That one's pretty much perfectly 000 relative, right?
And they just don't know what these things are. In August of last year, the U.S. Department of Defense formed the UAP Task Force, which stands for Unidentified Aerial Phenomena. The mission is to detect, analyze, and catalog these unknown objects, like the ones in the video, that could potentially pose a threat to U.S. national security. George Knapp with Mystery Wire joining us. George, walk us through this latest video, exactly what we're seeing here.
The USS Omaha is dead center in the middle of that radar screen. Those other objects around it on the radar screen are unknowns. They are zipping in and out, moving around, intelligently controlled, some of them coming straight at the ship, traveling as high as 158 miles per hour at one point. The release of this radar data has been much anticipated by people in the UFO field because they've seen images such as what we provided before, but none of the sensor data to go with it. So this is sort of an historic development here, providing sensor data that backs up the claim of the crew on the board the USS Omaha that indeed they were swarmed, engulfed, surrounded by UFOs.
How significant is this?
I think it's a pretty big deal. I mean, we know that the U.S. Navy has a great deal of sensor information. Of course, they have the best sensors in the world. We've had witness statements. We've seen video clips over the last couple of years, but none of the sensor data that go along with it. Your guess is as good as mine about what they are. Some people suggest they might be foreign drones, but if that is true, we have 9 ships in and around the Omaha, by as many as 100 of these objects. It's a pretty serious national security matter.
Let's talk a little bit more about the shape of these crafts, these unknowns, as you call them. They appear to be, as you have said, transmedian craft. Explain to people the shape and what we're seeing on this radar.
Well, the transmedium craft are those which can travel through air, space, and water. In addition, it's perfectly round, a sphere. It is self-illuminated. It has no rotor. It has no wings. It has no thermal exhaust because the image itself is recorded on a thermal screen. I mean, a thermal sensor. So how is it flying? It's pretty scary. If this is foreign technology, then we have had a major intelligence failure by not seeing that this is coming.
And we are waiting for that report from Congress. The UAP task force, of course, has these images. You say this video was leaked, and now we are able to see it. What are you anticipating in that report?
Well, I hope that there will be at least explanations about some of these incidents that we've been reporting over the past 3 years. If they can share more images that the public has not seen, that would be awesome. However, I suspect that the most sensitive material that the Navy and the UAP task force have will be shown to Congress, but not to the public, because it is a matter of national security.
George, what do you say to skeptics out there who watch this radar video and say, it could have been doctored, it may be fake?
I don't engage with the skeptics all that much. I think skepticism is valuable, but some people just sort of make it their daily duty to try to wipe this stuff out, to debunk it. I mean, the people on Twitter don't have sensor data. They don't have radar data. The U.S. Navy, the UAP task force have all of that data. They consider these things to be genuinely unidentified, to be unknowns, in effect, UFOs.
Are you optimistic that we will finally have some definitive answers as to what these objects are now and in the past?
I don't know. I mean, to tell you the truth, I know a lot of in high positions, and I'm working at this for more than 30 years. There are a lot of ideas about what the ultimate answers might be. And
all right, I stopped it there because, well, that was enough of George Knapp. We got useful information out of him before his speculation, but that's once again these beyond our modern physics craft being recorded, and the actual Navy radar and sonar and everything. Well, no, that was the radar, but I have seen once, and here's the thing. I think it was through Lou Elizondo maybe that brought it out, that there was the sonar recordings from like the Nimitz or something like that. And that's where I'm recalling the Tic Tacs also being transmedium going into the ocean.
Yeah, I think I've heard something about that too. I think you're right.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I believe that's what it was from. And that... that was just one claim to fame that highlighted, propelled them up. Yeah,
that the Navy is open, but the Air Force won't answer FOIA requests, and but the Navy will. And
good point.
It's why is the Air Force so hush hush about the subject?
And then what the heck is going on with the Space Force? What has actually been transferred to it? What's actually under it? And could it be a potential to be the vessel to bring forward a secret space program or a technology that had been under development, or, that breaks our physics boundaries?
My understanding is that the Space Force right now is... They have a few satellites that they control, some things like that. I don't believe that they even control like ICBMs. I might be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure that basically what they're doing is just working with satellites for the time being. And when they save up enough money, they'll have rockets.
Right. So, but that's the thing, like, the space being the final frontier, and that they're going to claim that they have just a couple little satellites, like they're not even developing satellite kill, like it. I don't know, but yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I dropped a Google link to a patent in the private chat there. Burn, go ahead and open that up. Let's just take a look at one of the images. So that device you're about to open is called a capacity changer by Joseph Hidding, and what it does is pretty fantastic compared to the parts that it's made of. So go ahead and pull up the images, because that's going to give everybody a chance to see what this thing looks like. It is a perfect sphere. Inside of it are some straight cylinder plasma lamps, and they are made of a mixture of quartz, glass, and barium titanate. barium titanate happens to be a type of material which allows the electric field to travel through it almost instantaneously, meaning that before it's even polarized, it will actually transmit the electric field. But if you see there, 14 is the shape of the ball, and if you go down, you'll actually see the image of what's inside of the ball, which is really where it counts.
Oh, I see it.
Can you get to that, Brum? There we go. Right there on the right side. You might want to zoom out just a little bit. You don't have any in-betweens between all the way.
No in-betweens. No in-betweens,
that's nuts.
sadly.
Okay,
sorry.
so these plasma tubes, when the plasma inside those tubes is in an excited state, it's conductive, and it acts like one plate of a two-plate capacitor. On the outside of each of those tubes is a foil wrapping that acts like the other plate, and that foil wrapping is connected actually to the chassis of this sphere. Now, normally we would never be able to build up enough potential fast enough to achieve a volts per meter sufficient to lock something off the ground, to either propel itself towards the attraction of the huge amount of positive ions in the ionosphere or away from the huge amount of electrons in the electron well that we live on called Earth. But this device, because the plasma can disconnect so incredibly fast, and because when it does, the capacity between these two plates doesn't go from like, a radio tuning capacitor where they simply get a little farther apart from each other, but they're in close proximity. No, the other second plate disappears completely, leaving the charge no place to go. So the scalar potential on that sphere goes up tremendously to several millions of volts, even though it could be charged with only several thousands of volts to start with. And what this does, he reports this because this is not the only thing we have from him. He actually wrote about this and responded to some people back in the day before he disappeared. And he said this thing pulled a lightning bolt about 30 foot or so long out of the air on a clear day. It didn't come down from the sky. It came out of the air and propagated towards this sphere because it literally tore electrons straight out of atmospheric gases, and probably, as he describes it, it was likely powered from the downwards ionic drift that was already present because of the extremely fast volts per meter of the fast impulse. So craft could fly using this type of technology, and this has been around for plenty long enough. And of course, he's not the first guy to play with this. Look at Tesla's teleforce. Those things were little vacuum evacuated tubes with a single electrode that he called teleforce from their output because they could exert a physical force, just like the Pockenoff impulse beam on distant objects. They could also transmit an actual electric potential at a distance, and they weren't sending particles from A to B. It seems like they were physically repolarizing the fabric of space-time itself, the aether in his case, in order to produce what would be equivalent to having a net charge differential. And that's a totally different type of technology than all other craft in the military-industrial complex use, which is why I say, although I am strongly an advocate that other non-terrestrial craft made by non-terrestrial beings do exist and are flying around, I think that almost all of what we see on a regular basis and what's reported is probably our craft, especially because stuff like this exists. I tested this idea. It works.
I remember that video.
Actually, I never did share my tests publicly with this one, so it must have been a different video.
My bad. And then there's also the sound wave technology cancellation we were talking about before, too.
Well, speaking of which, it wouldn't be proper for me to not mention Daniel Foster's grav inductor, which just so happens to be a spherical ball of wires, which he has been pretty clear about. You could completely encase it in a seamless stainless steel or other type of metallic enclosure and have no problems with really its operation. So, yeah, there's that.
A lot to come up and out in the new APEC being relaunched. Like, it's going to be an epic year, and the developments just keep coming, and the breakthroughs are going to be nonstop.
Yep, sound is key. I use that in my system as well. That's awesome.
I guess I should specify, for some of your audience seems to be that when I use the word vacuum, I confuse them with the term space. No, vacuum does not refer to space. Vacuum refers to that gap between the physical constituent parts of matter, which, as you've been well aware, matter is almost entirely empty space. That space is what we call a vacuum. So it just means a place devoid of physical solid matter, but not devoid of energy by any stretch.
Space-time.
Exactly.
Michael, to just go over what you were saying before about string theory. What I don't like about string theory is the strings. I think what the universe is really made out of is spin. That is what you get after
spin. Is that what you said? Spin.
Spin is the only thing that is universal.
Yeah,
to the
I
entire
think
universe.
you're right. I think spin
That's
is the where you live in a spintronic universe.
How about spin on 100%. The string?
Well, I was about to say, if you actually make a string, the way you do it is that you spin the fibers until they're wound up too tight to undone.
Well, string theory is then a spin theory, isn't it?
No, it's not. String theory is string theory. Spin theory is different.
Well, so
but they did get close.
Yeah. So my problem with string theory is it assumes that gravitation is unipolar. It doesn't, and what I think is
Boyd, you could have shortened that.
There's two kinds of gravitation. There's anti-gravity and there's gravity. They're different things. Gravity is a second order, distance squared over time squared, and anti-gravity, which is hyperbolic as opposed to parabolic, is distance cubed over time cubed, and it's balloon-like. And
I'm going to quote your first 8 words, Mr. Boyd. My problem with string theory is it assumes. Period. I think you could shorten it right there. It is. I wonder. It's been a long time that it's been around, and plenty of money has been dumped into it. But even though string theory has a lot of positive attributes that might be kind of sort of correct, it has yet to give us a consistent predictive analysis. It fails to make predictions, and so whether or not it's a theory that I'd spend any time on, personally, no, because it just isn't making those kinds of predictions that we realistically need to move forward in the technological sense. And since I'm kind of only focused on the technological sense, then it's
I have to agree with Jeremiah on this. And I have read books on string theory. Actually, when I was in yeshiva, I was caught by the rabbi once reading a book behind the Gemara, and he thought it was porn. And he was all excited to pick it up string theory. And he's like, "What the fuck?"
Oh man, dude! It is physics. It's theoretical physics.
That hard.
That's a good description of it. Physics porn.
Okay, somebody needs to draw a comic of Mark actually doing that.
Oh my god!
I can give you the rabbi's phone number in Israel. You can still talk to him.
Well, I think there's a grain of truth in everything. Okay.
I think that string theory has some parts right. I can't deny it, because it has
assisted other
areas of physics.
I think what happened is it was a good concept. It had a simple premise that ADD theories, but it's kind of like
it went too far, man.
It's like general relativity. It's part right.
Yeah, it just stretched its boundaries a little too far until its strings snapped. It assumed way too much.
It went far too theoretical.
The part that it got right, I think, is that gravity's stronger at close up than it is far away. So it's not linear with distance.
Exactly.
Yeah, theory.
It is highly nonlinear.
Non-linear
Michael, we set up the Cavendish experiment over here. We have lead balls with little pellets of osmium on it. Jeremiah, remember that really low friction magnet?
Honestly, I wish I had one of those like that here, because that thing worked so unbelievably well.
So we're using osmium.
And did it actually have? Did it actually have the gravitation was still distance squared over time squared?
I have to set it up again and actually do the calculations properly. And another thing, that Aiden moved down here and he slept in the lab for a couple of weeks till we got him a home. He figured out when is the quietest time to run and when the least amount of cars are passing by the lab. So we're going to wait for that period during the week. I think it's on Sunday morning or something like that. Mm-hmm. And we're going to run the Cavendish experiment on a vibration absorption table and actually take those kind of measurements. Try to figure out G.
So that's the question here with this strong extra dimension thing is that so the Planck is my hypothesis is all this Planck stuff is, since you can't measure it, it really doesn't have any meaning. Now, when I'm doing my measurement, my sensor's less than 100 nanometers from the spinning disk. So it's really close. Now, what I've been researching is the string theory they've got, the closest they've got is like 100, it's like 300 nanometers. They have this, the dimension has a radius that, where it's supposed to come in. So, and they based it on like stars and stuff like that. Okay, on astronomical stuff.
Tim, how does this look? Oh, this is our sonic levitation device.
Cool.
It was.
I think it's interesting.
And look,
it's using ultrasonic.
I think you should. You may end up having to build a soundproof room for
just
it.
Sonic, huh?
Yeah, that's in
sonic,
the audible range.
Yes.
How much power did you have to put into it?
Very audible. How much what?
How much power did you have to put into it? Amp-wise sort of thing.
It was probably
300.
How many watts?
It was probably about 300 watts max, but it wasn't going all into it because it wasn't mounted correctly. It should have been inside it like this. And
right.
I hope when we power it up again with 300 watts, we'll see what happens. Probably get better results. But he calculated that if you could put in a kilowatt of power, it should be able to lift like 5 or 10 pounds, which is enough to make this thing actually hover. It's possible to do that with using horns that are specifically tuned. You can even power it by ear. It doesn't even need electricity to go into it, just ear pressure, and you can get something like this to lift.
I think it's a really interesting experiment. I think it'll be a great demo. I really think you probably end up with a soundproof room though, because I mean, to achieve what you want, I have a feeling that it's going to be just like way too loud,
So I sent you guys an email with that Chat GPT thing about Planck.
Thanks. I just got your email, and I'm going to check that out. And I also wanted to add to your comment earlier that you're not sure why it would matter since it's so small that we can't really measure it. Well, it would matter if there was a real geometry embedded within it. That is to say, if the Planck time between one point to the other, the reason for why we find out at the smallest scale that there seems to be this quantization of individual moments where signals travel and there's like a zero time between them. They hesitate, they spend some time at one point and they move on to the next, and they're just instantly there. So that would indicate to us that there is a real geometry down at that scale. And if there is a geometry, it would dictate, well, the laws of this universe as far as physics can see them. It would tell us all about the covalent bonding structure. It would tell us about the weak and strong nuclear force. It would tell us about the way that electromagnetic waves are propagated if we understood its geometry. So it would explain life a lot more than you think.
It would explain how our brain works. It would explain a whole lot of stuff. If gravity's strong close up, it would explain life or over unity.
And the most important thing that I've learned in the last year, and I can probably say this pretty well hands down, it's learning about the underlying substructure of this universe and physically how it is geometrically arranged. It's a geometric phenomenon. And you get very different results with certain geometries than you should expect electromagnetically or kinetically or acoustically. You get really weird anomalies. Yeah, if anybody has seen it in the electromagnetic realm, it's certainly UG.
Yeah, I've played with some interesting experiments and electrocuted myself so many different times.
That's how you know you're doing good work.
It's intense. Actually, I have gotten absorbed like monatomics in my fingers several times, where then touching metal afterwards, like lightning, little bolts come out. Like, especially after being on carpet, like it exponentially increases the static electricity charge.
So instead of BurnEye, we're going to call you Sparky.
There's a fairly common
He's gonna have trouble taking that title from me.
There's a body mod that people do these days where they insert magnets into their fingertips so they can feel magnetic fields and stuff, or pick up screws that fall into crevices or whatever.
That would fry your phone, though, wouldn't it?
Well, I was thinking, isn't that basically what sharks deal with in their snouts? That kind of sensation.
I think possibly.
Birds have a sense built into it as well. Part of their brain actually has magnetoreceptors that will tell them which orientation they're facing.
I don't think it wouldn't interfere with your phone because your phone is capacitive. I think your touchscreen is capacitive, so I don't think it would affect it. Back in the day, stuff used magnets, but yeah, it's all capacitive now.
Right?
I can't do experiments. I can't do certain experiments with my coils and have phones in the same room because they're no longer useful afterwards. The antenna seems to pick up the energy and interesting things happen, let's just say.
So, well, you know, electronics are pretty fragile. Like if you are putting together your PC and you just, or like cleaning your PC and you just blow some compressed air at the fan on your GPU, that is enough to wreck your hardware.
Oh,
just
yeah.
Making the fan spin around and generate electricity there, that's enough to do it.
Hey, folks, I got to go.
I get it.
I worked a 12-hour day today.
For sure, and I think it's a good time to cut it. We're right at the 2-hour mark, and we've got another episode again tomorrow. I'm going for the Free Energy Fridays, so I want to discuss the power cells, the different batteries,
cool.
like crystal battery builds, the magnesium cells, or what was it? The mic cells, and Charlie replicated them as well.
Mike Farad's batteries.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And
maybe I'll show you that new piece of gear that I just constructed. Look for differences between gravitational and inertial mass.
Awesome. Tomorrow will be a demonstration sort of thing because I'm going to put together a makeshift demonstration with the scooter. I've done something a little different than what most people do with them. So we'll see.
I definitely look forward to that. And before all of you leave, I'm just going to post the link for tomorrow's actually, I guess it doesn't really matter. I'll just email it all to you after we're done here, instead of trying to make you copy and post it and hold on to it tomorrow. That just doesn't make sense. So on that note, I will email all of you beautiful, lovely souls. Feel free to rejoin tomorrow for Real Science episode 29, Free Energy Friday, and this will conclude Real Science episode 30, Electro-Culture, on Thursday. That's what happens when I start making them in advance. You know, it gets all messed up.
And it's going to get even weirder when you get to 31 because everybody's going to be like, hey, it wasn't last week 29?
BurnEye, I think you're doing great. I think you're doing great. You're building a little community. You've got a theme. You've got, yeah.
I agree, Mark. Give them all a hand.
Well, APEC was a huge part of it, and I love being a part of your community and bringing this community together.
BurnEye, you know what Tim told me when I told him about APEC? He said, if you want to do it, you got to make it mellow. And BurnEye is the king of mellow. It doesn't get any more mellow.
Yeah, that's actually the reason for why this channel has had almost all these massive names amongst this private study community in it. There's so many huge names that have been to this almost nothing channel. You look at the subs count, you look at the views count, or the number of live viewers, and it's so small, but yet these huge names are coming on here. Why?
Because Bernie's really chill. Because you just get an email from Bernie's like Bernie's like, we're doing StreamYard.
Right,
in an hour.
Yeah, an hour is actually
Everyone's
pretty
a mod.
good notice for
You can
Bernie.
say
I've
anything,
gotten
just
like,
don't make it
we're
rude.
on in 14 minutes. Come on.
You know, and then it's like, I mean, you know, and let's face it, this is our community, right? So it's like, you know, Friday night. I'm like, am I doing anything?
Right?
No,
End of the
I have
week,
no
the
life.
Fridays,
So
the Thursdays.
what the hell?
Might as well spend weekend with Bernie, right?
There you go.
You should have that as one of your openings, Bernie. You should have Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke when Chong's sitting in the car going,
Well, that's a little too Canadian there, Gerald. We don't want to fully burn out.
You don't want to go too
everybody.
mellow.
Exactly.
It's not
right?
here, man.
Real
Bernie's like, I keep mellow on the inside. I don't want to.
We can do that one for the agriculture Electro-Culture series 100% because
there you go.
Just ask Andreas to AI remix that sucker for you, and it will be gold.
All right. Well, on that note, we will see you all back here tomorrow. And thank you, everybody, for all that you're doing. And I'm going to end it on Crypto Alchemist. And then at the very end, I promised Mark, I'm going to play. It'll still be live on Twitch, Twitter, Rumble for the little bonus of the alien or the I guess
June 3rd. Yes, UFO event. Yes,
UFO
we're going to be
event,
at Pine
June
Bush,
3rd.
New York, in person. Rain date is June 4th. And come by and see us. It's a free event. Pine Bush, New York. They have a UFO mecca of the East, and we'll be there with live experiments, including your very own sonic saucer. That actually works. This is our sonic saucer.
But okay, explain the sonic saucer just a little bit more before we go, because you're saying it resonates with its own sound.
Sonic Saucer was born between a conversation between Todd DeCiato and ChatGPT, and then we had conversations about the profile. Basically, this is a parabola, and the focal point of it is right over here, right where the top would have been. But then I cut this hole open in order to mount a speaker to it, and we may have to open up a hole on the other side or something, but generally you're just pumping energy into this thing and seeing what happens. We've already tried it with this being the voice coil, and here's a directional mic that it came with, directional horn that it came with. We tried it in this setup, and there was a very noticeable force of 0.03 newtons. That was enough to swing this back and forth. So the next version is going to have it mounted inside. We also have some car horns that are going to be coming, and we'll try mounting those as well. This was made on a spin lathe that we have here at the shop. And rather than trying welding it, I just connected it together with duct tape. But when we get our welding on, we'll get that working. And actually, Mr. Simon suggested we try it out of, what's called again, carbon fiber.
Yeah, carbon fiber over duct tape. Probably
he was reading.
You know what a Fresnel wave is?
A Fresnel, that's the one that is straight.
That's like the drum, you know, the drum.
Yeah.
So that's what you got to do is you got to create a standing wave to do what you're doing.
That's what we're trying to do. Yes, we're trying to do with it.
Yeah, I can tell you that the Q of that resonator is never going to pull it off. That thing is so low Q and so soft that it's going to dissipate energy far faster than it can accumulate. And you may be lucky enough to grasp a Q of maybe 1.5 to 1. But if you want to get that thing doing interesting stuff, you're going to need a Q well over 100. And that's just not going to happen.
How do we do that?
You need rigid
materials,
welded at the seam.
How about this? How about really thin carbon fiber mat with that really thin epoxy? So we'll use this as the shell, and I'll just lay carbon fiber on it, vacuum it on.
Take it easy,
Simon mentioned they can make instruments out of that.
Michael, it was good seeing you again.
Good night, Michael.
You too. Nice seeing you guys.
Always a pleasure, brother.
Later, Michael.
See ya.
So we just got to find, bottom line, we need to find a material that has higher Q. I agree on that.
Wayne's been trying to tell everybody about this for a super long time, and I bring it up often enough where at this point, if people haven't grasped it or gotten it yet, then I guess their own issue. But here's the thing: energy in any form is going to have an equivalent mass. And when you take energy from the inside, the spin magnetic moment of the nuclei, and you radiate it by precessing it, you now have an external field which is stronger than the ambient background vacuum radiation. And so because of this, the density of the vacuum itself changes, and so does the speed of light. You have to build up energy in any form, whether it be acoustic, photonic, electric, magnetic, electromagnetic, thermal, or in any other form. You need to build up and accumulate as much energy as you possibly can in your fixed space, which requires a type of structure that is not going to dissipate that power. And so you're going to need a very difficult material to work with, one that I guarantee you won't be able to spin, something that's as rated at least, as case hardened steel, but preferably something hard like tungsten, titanium, or not tungsten, excuse me, like titanium, or another metal alloy specifically formulated to be extremely, extremely hard. Because you're going to get these deformations in the chassis, and they're actually going to pump back on that. Your transducer will never be able to push against it. You need to accumulate that inside and have it move around in there back and forth enough times before it ever comes back to the transducer, so that most of it is actually trapped inside the internal cavity, and it's not just simply pushing back and forth from the transducer space at the fundamental frequency. It's called acoustic phase shifting, but that's what you're going to want to look into. Take a look at Helmholtz resonators. Take a look at thermoacoustic cooling and heating. Those are the technologies that are going to help you, and Michael Perrone and your buddy Tom are both going to know a lot about those two types of devices. Tom specifically is an expert in those. You should talk to him about this project if you want help with it.
Tom actually hasn't been here in a while. I think he's in Japan fixing Navy warships or something like that. Or he might be working for the secret space program.
Well, I mean, Japan definitely needs help right now with their Navy.
Interesting. Well, all right. Well, I guess we'll talk a little bit more after the live. If you guys, some of you want to stick around for an after party, I will post the invite StreamYard link in the live for everyone. And I've just finished spamming Tim's channel, Mark's channel, both of Jeremiah's channels, the APEC channel, Alt Propulsion, Gerald's channel, Simon Liminal. Do you have anything you guys want me to spam? And
you can spam my channel. I just probably won't be posting content until I get closer into the warmer months. So if y'all want to subscribe, that's cool, but content incoming.
What's your channel for sure?
Yeah, just give me like a month or two so I can let the stuff start growing.
Post the link in the private chat by chance. And lastly, Tim, do you mind posting where people can register for APEC again in the private chat, and I will share it in the live chat for everyone.
Yes, and please bear in mind that I'm working on the website, so it is.
We've overloaded you. It's been such a great success.
You know what? I'm really excited. I'm excited because there's so much moving forward and there's so much enthusiasm. You know,
yeah.
I love
if you're going to do anything, people listening, is go on the website and sign up for the email list. That way, you will hear about it. And you don't have to rely on YouTube giving updates on live streams. They just won't.
Which sometimes are not thorough.
I mean, yeah, if I could, in speaking in general terms, right? Because again, I have my interview channel and I post updates and stuff to Facebook groups and Reddit and all that. One of the big challenges is that things are really fragmented right now. You know, you've got so many people with the same interests, but they're scattered across dozens of like channels and focus groups.
That's a really good point. Where are they actually looking? So how many places do you want to put down what you're trying to get out?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, right? And so that's one of my hopes for Alt Propulsion is that that we can have some of these more centralized locations, right? I mean, I guess the debrief is a little bit like that, but they don't take advantage of that. They're just kind of like, okay, well, we do stories and everybody shows up and reads our stuff. That's awesome, but that doesn't. Are
you able to get metrics on where you get the most response from what platform or medium? Email list versus YouTube versus,
Yeah. So Facebook groups, I post updates in Facebook groups across many different groups. And again, incredibly fragmented. I'm signed up to like 300 different Facebook groups. And so many of them, like lots of them have the same people. And then there are others that are just you know, it's like there are probably like close to 100 Facebook groups on UFOs, right? Which is just insane because they're all posting the same stories. And then I get also really good traffic from Reddit. So I think those are probably my two best.
Okay.
And Reddit is nice, but Reddit has trolls.
Yes.
Yes.
You get the best and the worst on Reddit.
Yes. So Reddit kind of, yeah, it's I get beat up on Reddit fairly often.
Don't let the trolls get to you. Yeah.
You got to get on the TikTok. I just created another TikTok, and it's pretty epic. Like, with the first day, I had 5 followers, and I got like thousands of views on my shorts.
As much as I don't want to give TikTok credit, if you want to do shorts and get attention for them, TikTok is the new place to do shorts. Like YouTube tried to follow TikTok.
Actually.
Yeah, Facebook and YouTube try to do their own version of TikTok, but there's a lot of people really looking at TikTok right now, and they have been for the past, 4 years or so.
Can we stop pretending that Vine wasn't before TikTok, though?
Vine definitely was before TikTok. They just didn't do a good enough PR campaign. Otherwise, Vine would still be around.
They weren't owned by China or Mark Zuckerberg.
They didn't have any PR. I remember Vine. I remember Vine was like one of those, when you're doing your social media promotion stuff, they're like, sign up for Vine. And like, even their promotion sucked to the point where even after they went out of business, people didn't know it. I keep reading these articles. I'm like, go to Vine, sign up. Oh, where'd they go? Like, like they didn't even tell people they were going out of business.
Ghost of Vine.
Yeah,
you go back in the day, right? And you compare, MySpace to Facebook. And there's one of the two reasons why Facebook dominated past MySpace, and it's either A, because their interface was just that much more functional, or B, because they had plenty of government funding to make sure that project happened.
I'm going to say it's both, because I actually made a living for a short time doing web design for people's MySpace profiles, and the coding was so broken.
Yeah.
So the overall site, the overall PR, it just couldn't hold a candle to what Facebook was ramping up to at that time. So MySpace was destined to fall.
They had their own culture, right? Like the glitter unicorns on the webpage. Like, on MySpace, it was like ubiquitous. Like every MySpace page had that, And MySpace had a couple of victories too. I remember, what was one of the big ones? What was it? The Intel Celeron MySpace page or something like that. When they came out with that chip, Intel got hip, right? Like finally, they like, that was like the first social media for a computer chip. The Intel Celeron.
Right. And then it just like disappeared in a matter of like a month, just gone.
And I think Facebook is starting to go the same direction.
Yes, it is. Yep.
Yeah, you can only take.
That's why they bought Instagram and WhatsApp, though, is to like keep them meta.
I don't know. How many people have you left Instagram already?
I'm not doing anything on Instagram.
Yeah, exactly.
The thing with Instagram is, okay, number one, Instagram doesn't let you post links, so it keeps you stuck on Instagram. Number two, it's really picture focused, which is cool, like if I'm doing selfies, but how much?
Also, it feels like you're stuck in some kind of weird online Shopify or something as well, and stuck in the brand.
That's exactly what I thought.
Can we get a call out? Has anyone here actually been to the metaverse where you put the goggles on and you connect with people?
Yes, I have.
No, I haven't. I was
Yes, you have, Simon.
Simon's been. Simon, what
Simon,
did you see while you were there?
Tell us about it.
Do you know the way?
So I would say, in terms of the interface, it is probably worse than like Second Life.
Oh no!
And they had all this time to develop it, and they still screwed it up.
And the graphics look.
They
like
don't know the way.
No, the way. No.
But I will say, definitely worth picking up a headset just to play like Pistol Whip and Beat Saber.
Well, I mean, it's just a bunch of avatars and, people.
I will destroy you at Beat Saber.
I've seen some videos of it on little YouTube shorts that'll pop up after all the
I was told to just not just to not do those chat, VRs, that it's like kind of a melts your brain sort of thing. So I haven't done metaverse or anything like that.
You know what melted my brain with the 3D goggles? I had a computer hooked up to that playing Elite Dangerous, which is basically a flying saucer simulator, and I had all the controls and everything. I wasted so much time on that. And then one day I just threw it out. I'm like, I am concentrating on the simulation when I have a Faraday cage right there. I got to go start building it again.
Your training is
that
complete.
Setup was addictive.
Your training was complete on the simulator. It was time to get to work.
Exactly. That's a good way to
That game was
right.
cool, though. I ain't going to lie. Like, that was super cool.
On that note,
did you ever try that?
Jeremiah,
did you try that setup?
We spent an evening drinking beer and running that back when I used to go out there to Jersey.
Oh my! That must have been the first time.
It probably was.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
It was freaking cool, man. Especially on like a 40. What was it, like a 52-inch or something? You had it up on. I just wish you had a projector because then we could have made the damn thing like 15 feet wide and it would have been immersive.
No, with the goggles. You didn't try it with the goggles.
Oh, I've never tried it with the goggles. No, that's got to be way better.
Yes, I have it with the goggles now. It's really crazy.
Well, let's check it out after the stream. We're closing. We'll see you all back here tomorrow. That concludes Real Science episode 30, Real Science episode 29 tomorrow.
Thanks, y'all. Thanks, Bernie.
Love you all. Feel free to join.
Thanks, everybody. Great stream.
Thank you. Much love.
Oh, wow.
guess you may join, Grandmaster. And for those still with us, it should. There we go. And the bonus.
Hey. Oh, cool.
I think we're in some place called Pine Bush. I believe it's some sort of festival of aliens.
We're here in the village of Pine Bush, which happens to be the UFO capital of the East Coast. There are UFOs coming to Pine Bush every day of the week. Back in the 1960s, Pine Bush was known for its UFO sightings, and actually it still is. So when they really wanted to expand their tourism product, I said, well, you build on your strengths. You're known for UFOs. Have a UFO festival. We're here at the 5th annual UFO fair. There are lectures on people who have actually been abducted by aliens. Obviously, there's a street fair going on all around us, and there's going to be a huge parade with all sorts of people in costume as aliens. Everyone is welcome to the festival, and we're hoping that some of the UFOs will stop by. If you look